Good evening and welcome to the Dr. Maria Show. Well, good news again for the American people. The $9 billion clawback bill has narrowly passed the House in the wee hours, little after midnight on Friday today. And good news, because there's a lot of waste in our government. Certainly Elon Musk was attacked ferociously for the job he did with DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. And he did identify an awful lot of waste. But he's a temporary employee. Congress is the one who holds the purse strings. So we needed legislation. And I, like many other Americans, were a bit critical that none of those DOGE cuts were codified, meaning passed into a law. So on Thursday, the Senate, they had two Republicans, Senators Murkowski and Collins from Alaska and Maine, who I think they're misinformed, but they decided not to go with the bill because they said we represent a lot of rural areas in our states. Certainly I know Maine better than Alaska, but obviously I can see that Alaska is very rural. And we're afraid that with the cuts, they won't have emergency alerts. I really believe they were so misinformed. I live in a rural state. I neighbor Maine. I'm in New Hampshire right now. I'm in my parlor. You see my foyer. And our emergency broadcasting system is state. I don't get alerts from California. I don't have any alerts that are federal. If something was happening in another state, you hear it on the news, but my federal alerts are state run, and it's the same in Maine, and it's the same in Alaska. But anyways, so Senators Murkowski and Collins did not vote for the bill, but they were not needed. It went to the House, and two Republicans did not vote for it in the House from Ohio and Pennsylvania, but again, not needed, passing narrowly so. So the House did pass what is called Trump's clawback bill. What does clawback mean? Clawback is when you take something back, obviously. In legal terms, it can also be if you already given out the money, you could claw it back if there was need to do so. And certainly we saw the need to do so. We have been spending our money, me and you, billions of dollars with a B, to foreign countries for really BS programs. We've seen it, right? For a Pride Week parade, for trans education, very bizarre things going. And does it really go to that country for those things anyway, even though I don't agree with it? Or was somebody pocketing the money? It was all so suspicious. They even found that $1 billion was going to some company that ended up to have, it was a shell company. They went there and there was nobody in the offices. So who was pocketing the money? So we need further information, but that is cut, all that USAID money. Thank the Lord. I am so happy about that. I'm also happy that funding to PBS, NPR getting over $1 billion taxpayer money. And they were an arm of the Democrat Party. Well, the CEO of NPR likes to say, show me where we were biased and we'll correct it. Are you kidding me? I could go on and on about how you were biased, ma'am. Hunter Biden's laptop, what it contained was one of the biggest scandals of our time. I'm not talking about Hunter and being the bag man. I'm talking about his dad, who a lot of that corruption and selling of his office happened when he was vice president, the second in command, the vice president of the United States of America. It's bad enough we had Bill Barr cover it up. It's bad enough we had the FBI, but to have a so-called news agency deciding that it wasn't worth their time, that's just one of the several issues with NPR. So I am very, very happy that that is being cut. This is a great indication that our voice as we the people was listened to. We were sick of government waste. The federal government, as I've said repeatedly, is like a big beast. The bigger it gets, the more they take from you. And we saw in the Biden administration, it wasn't just more of your money taxing you in all kinds of different ways. They started going after our civil liberties. And do you know what? When you look back, they won. They did it. We complied. There was a minority group comfortable enough to speak out, business owners, clinicians, saying that they're really not following the science. Anthony Fauci is wrong. But because the media was so powerful, they were able to silence our voice. Thank God for the internet. You never thought I'd say that, because I think the internet is a source of a lot of crimes, a lot of fraud, a lot of misinformation. But in this respect, people got to get or were able to receive information through different podcasts, different shows like what are on Lindell TV. So I'm very happy about that. So a good win for the American public. I know if you were to look online, you'll see Trump wins, Trump, Trump, Trump. It's we the people who are winning. It is us who are winning. This is a significant, significant bill. And I thank the legislators who are doing the right thing for the American taxpayer. So I am wearing my medical coat, and, I'm not obliged to wear it when I see patients. I loved wearing my coat when I would see patients in an emergency department because it has pockets. That was the main thing. It has these really big pockets. I could have pens in it, paper in it, and so it was really good. But I'm wearing this coat today because I'm actually covering a few medical stories. One of the medical stories is about the new diagnosis of venous insufficiency for President Trump. President Trump has had a lot of leg swelling, and you could see that. I'm not giving up any private information. You could see that. When he was sitting, you could see literally that. Here's a great picture. Look at how swollen, and it's bilaterally. Both legs were swollen. Well, a lot of astute people were saying, oh my God, what else is wrong? His hands have bruising on them. Two different issues. Venous insufficiency is the lower legs, and it's a valve problem. So obviously, if you just think logically in gravity, right? We go down our legs and especially our ankles, it's gravity. So we need a really good circulatory system to get that blood back up to the heart. So we need it to come up unoxygenated and go through the heart and lungs, get oxygenated in the arteries, take it away from the heart, back down. Well, when you have a valve problem in your legs, venous pooling can happen. One of the first signs is that swelling in the lower legs, and it's at high risk for venous ulcers. And I can tell you they're nasty. Through the advancement of a lot of medicine, we treat venous insufficiency different. But when I first started, I'll never forget the ulcers that we would see. And I don't know if you're aware of what an ulcer is, but basically because of lack of that venous pooling and erosion would happen, and they're not getting the right circulation of, unoxygenated and oxygenated blood in the cells getting cleaned out through that circulatory system. So, and they were very, very hard to treat. Now, one of the reasons you could get venous insufficiency is what's called a deep vein thrombosis. Thankfully, the president was probably, and this is conjecture, I don't know, but probably had a Doppler study and an ultrasound to look at the blood flow and to see if he had any arterial clots. I'm told he had none, and I think this is public reporting. So that's good. So why would he get venous insufficiency? You know, pregnant women can get it. The weight of the baby on those lower extremities, sitting too much, standing too much. We know he's a very athletic man. He's an incredible golfer. He gets outside quite a bit. So is he standing too much, sitting too much? One of the things that can help is compression stockings. I actually advocate for most people, friends and family and patients, when they're traveling long distance to wear compression stockings because you're sitting for a long time. Oh boy, is that great for a blood clot to form. So I always tell people when you're on the plane, do calf exercises like raise your toes, put them down, lift up your legs, you know, do all kinds of things to keep that circulation moving. Diuretics, some people wrote me yesterday, would a diuretic help with that swelling? It's usually we wouldn't go that route. Diuretic is a pill to remove fluid. Maybe if he had heart failure as well, not seeing any signs of that. President Trump is a healthy man, but this is new. So he does need to put his feet up as often as possible. I'm okay if he's sitting in his Oval Office and he has his feet up. He can do that while he's working alone. Obviously, I know we're all about the way things look when the cameras are on. He probably should sit normal and sit up straight, but as often as he could. And he should have compression stockings on right now. Now, I did say that there was two different things going on because the hand bruising has nothing to do with venous insufficiency. President Trump is on a prophylactic aspirin. What does prophylaxis mean? It's a preventative measure. He does not have any kind of cardiac disease, heart disease. But some providers think an aspirin a day may not be bad. Remember, most heart attacks are caused by a blood clot in the coronary artery, and that starves that portion of the heart of oxygenated blood because you have a clot there. So it's not getting that circulation, it's not getting oxygenated blood to that heart muscle, and it starts to die, and you have chest pain, and then we have all kinds of measures to get that, to remove that clot. So that's probably what the bruising is from, that his blood is a little thin. So if he hits his hands on something, it could bruise. But they're two separate issues. But I'm glad that President Trump was so transparent that he said to Caroline Leavitt, you know what? Tell the world. Let's tell them what's going on. And it's an example of what happened, what didn't happen with President Biden, where there was such a massive cover-up of his mental deterioration, his dementia. Again, I get very worried, about saying it was Alzheimer's. Dementia is a pretty big umbrella, and we have all kinds of things underneath it. I don't know if he has Alzheimer's. I do know he has dementia. Fact. Do I suspect it's what's called vascular dementia? Yeah, I do. And that relates back to his problem with his aneurysms in his brain. He had two really, really bad aneurysms, and the surgeries were very risky. And he obviously survived, but though that area of his brain, two different areas, did not receive enough blood flow. So that's all I am suspecting. But we can listen to Caroline Leavitt address President Trump's health issue.
On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs, In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House Medical Unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits.
Well, I'm glad to see my diagnostic abilities are still in check. Everything Caroline said just kind of confirmed what I was saying about venous insufficiency and the fact that the president does not have any heart condition. Moving on, there's a growing trend of increased calls to poison control centers throughout the United States about nicotine poisoning of children, especially under the age of 6. Well, there's these little pouches that some people use that does not have tobacco leaves in it, but does have nicotine in it and some other chemicals. And people typically put it in their upper lip, and it gets absorbed, the nicotine, through the gum. Well, these are discarded, not thrown away properly, or the parent, babysitter, somebody leaves them out in their box. They come in a little box. And nicotine poisoning is on the increase. Let's go to clip 1.
The number of young kids becoming sick after getting their hands on nicotine products like pouches and vapes, it has skyrocketed in recent years. According to a new study, U.S. poison centers reported more than 130,000 cases of nicotine poisonings in kids under the age of 6 between 2010 and 2023. Now, that same study, published by the American Academy of Pediatrics, it found an increase in poisonings of 763% in just 3 years. NBC News medical analyst.
Really alarming. Now, the CDC went to break down further. What are the symptoms? What are we really seeing with these nicotine poisonings? Some are very minor reactions, jitteriness. There has been 2 deaths, at least, attributed to this nicotine poisoning. So alerting all parents, all users, I guess, of these nicotine pouches to beware, to make sure this is not a benign thing. You must handle it like a medicine and not have it in reach of children. What's really odd about this industry is the federal government, and this is the one time I probably agreed with the federal government, made cigarettes, put warning labels on the cigarette boxes and, talked about advertising. There's no more advertising to youth about cigarettes. Well, then came vaping, and vaping has caused a lot of deaths. The chest x-rays of these young kids is just terrible. They hardly have any lung function out. I really believe vaping should be banned. But the tobacco pouches have literally been approved by the FDA. Now, you're not telling me lobbyists didn't say to the FDA, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. So there was like 10 different flavors, mint, whatever, approved by the FDA. I'm like godsmacked over this. But just please be cautious of this. I think clip 2 may get in a little bit more of how kids are ingesting the pouches.
The number of children accidentally swallowing nicotine pouches has jumped in recent years, and that's according to a new study. Data published in the journal Pediatrics found there was a more than 700% increase of cases where children under 6 ingested nicotine pouches between 2020 in 2023. Joining us now is Natalie Ryan. She is the director of the Central Ohio Poison Center at Nationwide Children's Hospital. Natalie is also one of the co-authors of this new study. Natalie, thanks so much for being with us. First off, let's talk about just how significant this jump in cases was. When you hear 763%.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, it is a pretty significant increase. When you look at the rate of ingestions per population, that was the number that we calculated, 0.48 in 2020 to 4.14 in 2023. So a pretty significant increase.
Of course, this goes hand in hand with the sales of these pouches going up. The Journal of the American Medical Association tracked the rise of nicotine pouch sales. It showed overall sales increased from 126 million units from August to December of 2019 to 808 million units from January to March of 2022. And you can see that on your screen right there. So what do people need to be on the lookout for that might signal their child has ingested one of these pouches?
Some of the early signs and symptoms of nicotine toxicity, with lower doses, you see nausea and vomiting, but with more significant ingestions, you start to see things like increased blood pressure, increased heart rate, and if severe enough, you can see symptoms like seizures, respiratory failure, or difficulty breathing, and sometimes as severe as coma.
If that's the case, then, Natalie, what should someone do if someone at home believes that one of their kids might have taken a nicotine pouch?
One of the first things you can do is please call the National Poison Helpline at 1-800-222-1222. Your local regional poison center is staffed with specially trained nurses and pharmacists that are well equipped to handle these sorts of calls. They're ready and willing to help you decide can your child be safely watched at home, or does it sound like they have symptoms that are severe enough that they should probably go seek medical attention? So we're there 24/7, 365. Just give us a call and we're happy to help.
Yeah, every minute can count in something like that. Natalie Ryan, thank you very much.
Good information about what symptoms you may see and what to do about it. But this is 100% preventable. Just keep your nicotine pouches away from children. So more health news. I have long talked about chronic illnesses, and I'm talking about in my professional life, not so much on the Dr. Maria show, although maybe I should do more of it. But in my professional life, I've often talked about chronic diseases and how much money we're spending in healthcare. So it's two things, right? You look at cost and money, but you look at the health of people, right? You want to have people lead healthy lives, be happy, live a very long life. So, but they intersect. And I've written a lot about this. I've done a great plan about decreasing this, but most of healthcare dollars are spent early life, right? In NICU, the neonatal intensive care units, most of the time because the mom did not have prenatal care. So the mom is addicted and the baby is born addicted. So we're spending tons and tons of money there because most of it is Medicaid money on welfare, and we're paying for it. And the child's paying for it. Will they ever be normal after being born addicted to drugs? And then end of life. You know, you're 90-something years old, you're going to have a lot of problems. And all of a sudden you go to your doctor, I have this problem, that problem. And they're running very, very expensive tests and put you on some medication. Did you really need that? It's a question for another day. But early in life, later in life, and chronic diseases and metabolic diseases like diabetes is a big factor. 1 in 3 children are diagnosed with pre-diabetes. Let's listen to Dr. Siegel.
We're seeing this change because of the poor diet we still have in this country for our children. The exact thing we've been focusing on lately, where kids are eating too much ultra-processed food, there's too much sugar, and they're gaining too much weight. Ainsley, there's a correlation here between the obesity epidemic, which is 20% of kids, and now 1 out of 3 having prediabetes.
This is extremely concerning. Look around, right? A lot of people like to show pictures of us in the 70s. We were thin. We were exercising all the time without even calling it exercising. We were playing in the streets, kickball. We had organized sports. We walked or rode our bikes everywhere. There was no taking an Uber or hitchhike if you were going further, but I don't recommend that. And now look at us. You go to any beach, everybody's obese. Almost everybody is obese. It's the rare person who's in shape in a healthy way. I'm not talking about by Ozempic or anything else, because we're going to end up seeing data on that and how it's harmed our heart muscle and other musculature in our bodies. But anyways, so this is a real concern with this new revelation from the CDC that 1 in 3 children ages 12 through 17 have prediabetes. Well, maybe that figure doesn't hit home. How about 1 in 3 means about 8.4 million children. Parents. It's you. You have to make sure your children are eating healthy. And if they're leading a sedentary life, get them outside, get them involved in something. If your kid doesn't like being involved in sports, decrease their calorie intake. This 2,000 calories a day is something that was when we were moving around. If you're not, decrease it. But with the calories you give your children, have it be very high in nutrition. Good vegetables, lean meats, fish, the omega-3s. But this is I'm telling you, a very alarming thing. And why a country like the United States has such bad health problems? A lot of it does go back to our diet, what we're taking in our bodies, the chemical-filled foods, the processed foods, and the sedentary life we lead now. We'll watch more on this. This is just like a little PSA, a public service announcement about the FDA recalling metoprolol. Metoprolol is a beta blocker. It is used to treat heart failure, high blood pressure, sometimes chaotic rhythms, cardiac rhythms. And from a particular producer in India, we have seen some real problems. Let's look at clip 5.
More medication used to treat high blood pressure has been recalled because of safety concerns. Pharmaceutical manufacturer Teva issued a nationwide voluntary recall for 2 kinds of blood pressure drugs because they may cause cancer. The recall applies to all lots of amlodipine-valsartan combination tablets and amlodipine-valsartan hydrochlorothiazide combination tablets. Teva says they may contain an impurity that's been classified as a possible human carcinogen. The FDA says patients taking these drugs should continue taking them and contact their doctor or pharmacist for advice on alternative treatment. If patients stop taking the drugs immediately without any comparable alternative treatment, the FDA says they could put their health at greater risk. Since July, the FDA has issued at least 10 recalls for valsartan and another high blood pressure medication called irbesartan because of possible contamination by the same cancer-causing impurity.
So please, if you are taking metoprolol, please contact your physician. It's specifically for the 25 milligram tablets. I've long been very concerned that most of our pharmaceuticals, most of our drugs here in the United States come from 2 places, China and India. We have no control over their safety standards. China is our vowed enemy. Would they put things in our medicine? I have to say, we gotta get it back here in America. We have to. I thought maybe during the pandemic when we saw how much we were used and abused by China with masks and gowns, and they gouged us terribly, that we would start producing things in the United States like gowns and masks, but also our pharmaceuticals. People, entrepreneurs, let's get moving on this. I love this administration because I feel like it's most aligned with, guess who? We the people. But I don't agree with everything all the time. And I understand that the federal government is a big beast and you don't know everybody all the time. But I'm really concerned about some of the picks, especially in health and human services. So Dr. Monterez is the CDC director pick by President Trump. She is not a medical doctor, which is fine. I don't think you necessarily have to be. It would be great to see a nurse practitioner, but she does have her PhD in immunology. But people who really believe in the Make America Healthy movement are very concerned with this pick. And it's because of responses like this. Let's go to clip 7.
Any thoughts about the safety of mRNA vaccine in general?
The FDA has, in the production of the COVID-19 vaccine, had approved the mRNA vaccines as safe and had demonstrated efficacy associated with them.
So you would not be prejudiced from the get-go against such a platform, such a vaccine built upon a platform, whether it's for COVID, flu, for Lyme disease, or anything else?
That is why I have no a priori prejudice against the mRNA platform or any other approach that is being taken to develop vaccines. And that is why we have safety and efficacy standards that the FDA puts in place for any of these medical product trials to ensure that anything that is being developed, we can have the confidence that we can put it in ourselves and our children, our family members.
So then you, as the CDC director, responsible for setting the ACIP agenda, would not shrink from the recommendation of such a vaccine. Would you also recommend that the 17 members be constituted with those who actually have experience with mRNA research and could know both sides of the safety discussion?
Yeah, we absolutely need highly trained scientists and medical professionals to be able to participate in the ACIP meeting. If they don't have deep technical knowledge in mRNA, they have to be able to understand complicated scientific information, and they have to have the temerity to ask questions.
So there she says that she has no problem with it. My goodness, there is so much research about the negative effects of mRNA. I, like many educated providers, educated in science, are calling for mRNA injections to be taken off the market. So she's a deep concern. We've seen the politicization of CDC, and it's just going to continue. This woman is not knowledgeable. Number one, she just proved it. And number two, I think she could be bought. But that's not the only one. I had Dr. Naomi Wolf on my show previously, and here's what she had to say about Kennedy's pick for Surgeon General.
It's a disastrous pick. I wrote an essay which is getting quite a lot of traction on Substack yesterday, and it's called The Imaginary Casey Means. And I don't even care that she's not board certified, although that's pretty serious. But I'm a tech CEO, and I really understand what's wrong with her company, Levels.com. Basically, Levels.com started in 2019, and it's been going for 6 years. It was started by someone who has no experience building a tech company or selling a tech company, and her co-founders are Google guys from Google, SpaceX, and Twitter. Also her investors, and her investors include Andreessen Horowitz, which is one of the most kind of corrupt, entrenched VC investment firms in Silicon Valley, which was very big, is very big in the mRNA injection, funding the mRNA injection. So her sales have been flat for 5 years, flat. And if you drill into who her subscribers are, almost 80% of them are in Mexico, where healthcare is free and where the average monthly salary is $1,600, and her product is quite expensive. It costs about $400 to get started, and then about $168, month by month. So only 21% of her users are in the United States, and that's declined month by month by 65%. The third most common place for her users is Singapore. So I'm not saying I know that those are fake accounts, but it's a very unusual distribution of users, and Mexico and Singapore are locations for bot farms. So where I'm going with this, and she doesn't have any new technology. She doesn't have, the technology is not new, the software is not new. So yet she raised $38 million in a seed round and a Series A round. And her valuation of her company is $313 million. So for a company that is getting, 10,000 subscribers, maybe they're real people, a year, that math, just like, you're not a tech CEO, and I'm sure.
So 2 concerning picks. But more to come on the Dr. Maria Show. We're going to take a short break, and when I come back, I'm going to have the great Joe Hoft.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally. With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com.
Welcome back. I did stop kind of abruptly going to commercial break, but you have a say. You've been very, very powerful in letting your voice be known. If you have concerns about Casey Means as Surgeon General or Dr. Monarez as CDC Director, call your congressional delegation, call HHS office, call the White House. We want to really make a difference in this administration. This is like our chance to right side this corrupt shift. So let your voice be known. Well, here with me is Joe Hoft, a man I respect deeply and co-founder of Gateway Pundit. A lot is going on with Gateway Pundit and what you're discovering. I so enjoy reading your articles and your other reporters because we don't get that kind of information in other places. And you guys are always Johnny on the spot, letting the American people know. But you yourself, Joe, have been involved really looking at the 2020 election. What are the recent updates?
Well, there's all sorts of stuff going on still, just like everything. It's so hard to keep up. By the way, I'm going to just say this, kind of jumping back to your prior segment. How much of this, these picks by, RFK Jr. and President Trump and the health area are due to the fact that you've got some real nasty Republican senators like Cassidy from Louisiana, for example, the doctor, who's happy to promote some of these characters that we wouldn't want, but at the same time made it really difficult for Trump to even get Bobby Kennedy on board. They had to do some real management behind the scenes to get Bobby Kennedy on. And I just kind of wonder how much of this is Cassidy saying, okay, we'll approve him, but you got to give us your CDC pick and all these others. And there are a bunch of, scumbags. Hopefully Cassidy will get beat here in the primary in 2016 and we can get a new Republican senator out of Louisiana. But, that's kind of my thoughts on some of that. Some of that, it's really clear these are terrible picks. These are picks that somebody like Cassidy would make, not what we ever saw from Bobby Kennedy that I'm aware of. So I'm throwing that on the table. What do you think?
No, I do appreciate that, Joe, and you're right. There's a lot of conversation about backroom deals. We've always heard that. Growing up, you hear, well, yeah, these people fight on television or fight in the papers, but they go out for a whiskey at the end of the day and they make compromises. And it was always hailed as a good thing to make a compromise. Mm-hmm. But we feel that the soul of our country was attacked under President Biden. And there was so much hope in President Trump's administration. And I did warn about it, that the man is not God. He's not going to be able to fix everything, certainly not in one term. But I just can't stand it when we give up our integrity and what we believe in, because I want to change. I want to change with the CDC. I want the people to trust it, and I don't trust. Yes. I'm a medical provider, and I don't trust it.
No, it's so sad, isn't it? I feel the same way, and I loved your segment before too. I'm jumping back, but talking about kids and how they are overweight and stuff, and I just today noticed some guy going down the road in those electric bikes. I'm sitting there thinking, I used to have to pedal that thing to make it move, and we were always skinny. Because we were going all over on our bike. Right. You know what I mean? So things are easy, but it's not maybe necessarily healthy all the time. But anyways, that great segment.
On that subject, Joe, I was the CEO of a hospital, and one of our clinics, we had some clinics that were outside of the hospital in communities, and the nurse practitioner who was running saw most of the patients at a particular clinic was going out on maternity leave. And I didn't want the patients to go without a provider for months on end. So I said, you know what? I'll go out there, and on Mondays, triple book me. I'll see as many people as I can. Well, a couple of things struck me during my experience during that time. How many able-bodied people were on disability? I was shocked. People would come in, I hurt my back snowmobiling. Can I have some narcotic? And of course, I wouldn't give the narcotic. But anyways, looking at their history, and I'm like, well, what's your disability about? Oh, I'm depressed. Okay, not depressed enough. You can't go out snowmobiling. And that's just one example. It was one after another. But the other thing I noticed is whenever I brought up somebody's weight, and I would do it obviously in a respectful way, but the harmful effects of being overweight, heart, neurological, blah, 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 circulatory, they were shocked, like they had never heard it before. And I'm like, what are we doing in the medical field that we are not talking about health issues? And remember, not that long ago, the Vogue people of the world said, you know what, we got to embrace people's obesity, and it's okay to be obese. We were trying to make it a norm instead of saying this is a health crisis.
Yeah, that's
but anyways,
great.
I regress too.
Yeah. I'm glad you're saying that too. We see these big girls at Victoria's Secrets or whatever, and it just didn't have the same flair as pretty girls that are in really toned and in good shape. So yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense to a lot of us guys either.
Yeah. And I recognize that it's difficult to lose weight. I struggle with the same 10 to 15 pounds all the time. I'm up, I'm down that 10 to 15 pounds. And it's a struggle. As I get older, it is harder and harder to take off those pounds. So I do recognize that. That's why I say we have to start early. And I'm not going to take up your time, but I actually have a plan that I think we could bend the healthcare curve also financially. And by starting with health initiatives right in school, it's part of your curriculum. And we put back an hour of exercise into the school systems. We may have to extend the day, but anyways, I want to hear about election stuff.
Well, and you're going to share that hopefully, and I'll jump to another subject. Hopefully you'll be there in a few weeks, 3 weeks from today in Las Vegas, and you can share those points with us as we bring in a bunch of just incredible American heroes like yourself, Rudy Giuliani, General Flynn, Roger Stone. There's the list. Thanks for showing it, guys. You look at this lineup, it's just fantastic. Dr. Gold, Christina Bob, Jim, Laura Logan, Mike Lindell Davis, Mike Davis, Wayne Allen Root, David Clements. These guys are great, Peter Tickton. And so we're putting that on in a couple of weeks. We really appreciate people taking a severe look at this and join us there. We're out pushing for ticket sales right now, and we just think we've got the best lineup in the world. So hopefully you can join us. The big day there is Saturday, and that's I believe August 9th. So about 3 weeks from today. So we want to thanks for encouraging that. Yeah.
Yeah, how do people get tickets to that event? I want you all to come out, buy a ticket, come out. Let's have it. Let's have some fellowship. Let's listen to one another. Let's continue our fight to make America great again. How do they get tickets?
Yeah, you can go to both joehoft.com and Gateway Pundit, and you'll see the links to the event at both those sites, and that'll take you there. And it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great time. So we look forward to seeing you and many others there, and it's going to be great. Yeah. Mary Holland from Bobby Kennedy's group will be joining us too. There's a few names that we haven't even put up yet.
I'm happy about that. And I want to, I'm begging you for, some time to be up on that stage, and I'll take whatever I can get because I want the Kennedy administration to hear what I have to say, because I really feel this plan could make a difference.
That's great. Anyways. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, that's great. That's a nice teaser for all of us. Thanks. And really good. So there's a lot going on too. I hope to present, and I plan on it, speaking about the elections as well as David Clements. We're going to, David's been doing a lot of work for the last 4 years, as well as myself. I wrote the 3 books on the Steal from 2020. And got some nice compliments as a result. Roger Stone told me in my books at one time, he said, these are going down as classics because I looked at the election from a perspective of a professional auditor and finance guy. You know this. I was overseas for about a decade in Hong Kong, overseeing an audit team for a Fortune 500 firm, and done audits, attended audit committees, risk committees, and board committees around the world, and presented to executives around the world, and looked at and did various audits around the world, as well as oversaw the financials for large corporations as well, multi-billion-dollar financials. So I learned a lot in that time and period in my life. Traveled the world, got to see a lot of his blessing, but I learned that in the corporate world, and at least at the company that I worked at, I was really blessed. We were built around integrity, and these guys told me, basically everything had to be perfect when I oversaw that multi-billion-dollar block of business, the financial report. All we want is perfection, Joe. We can't have any exceptions. We can't have anything blow up. It's got to be perfect. And so a bit of stress there for for myself and others to make sure the numbers are perfect, and dealt with teams around the world. I learned that in the corporate world, we not only have to have support for our final numbers, we have cutoffs that are clear. We have total transparency, meaning if I am an auditor and I ask for something, you provide it. When I was in China, I'd ask for information, communist China, during an audit, and I always received it. Yet in our election process, there tends to be this problem that it's not your right to have transparency, that you should just trust people and leave the results up to them. And that's not right. It's not accurate. It's a lie. Our elections need to be even more not sophisticated, more transparent than they are in the corporate world. And we were so transparent. The other thing in the corporate world that really hit me too was that there was this act, Sarbanes-Oxley, that came out in the early 2000s. And what it did is it forced corporations to not only make sure their financials are correct and you had support for every entry, and there's, millions of entries in big corporations a year, I expect. But there's, if not thousands, hundreds of thousands of entries, and everything had to be supported. But you also had to make sure your processes were perfect so that nobody could sneak something in. And your systems had to be perfect. They needed to be secure. Nobody can come into your system and insert something or take something away. And this was really important stuff. If we had a system that we saw with security issues, we'd shut it down. Yet in our 2020 election, and I wrote about this, they determined in an audit in Georgia, actually, that the systems there weren't secure, that a bad actor could sneak in, and that a bad actor could flip the results. This report was from the CISA, a government body. And so the same body that earlier, a couple of years prior, said this is the most secure election we ever had. Well, except for with the election machine. So everything we saw was broke. And we worked really hard over the last 4 years to make sure we tried to address this. We still had the machines in place. Those same machines were still in place in Georgia. And after the election in 2024, I started really focusing on Orange County, California. And it's like the 6th largest county in California. And we started off with some individuals needed help curing ballots, big county. And so I reported on that. We put it up at Gateway Pundit, and President Trump retruthed it that day. The next day, that night, they had a bomb threat at their facility. One of in 7 counties in California, 54 counties worldwide had bomb threats in 2024, and nobody talks about it. It's crazy. And, like everything was perfect because Trump won. Well, we saw in Orange County, a red county, definitely red, that 5 out of the 6 U.S. House seats went to the Democrats. And that just didn't make sense. And so we continued to look at it. We found that the numbers, for example, they have 1.8 million people on their voter rolls, yet they sent out 2.1 million ballots. We found situations where we looked at the video from the night of the bomb threat, and there's people shoving ballots through as if nobody told them what's going on. And we even saw somebody shove a big stack through 3 times. And we're assured by the county everything's fine. We checked that. They didn't go through more than 3 times. But of course, they won't show you or provide any transparency. I offered to do an audit for them. They turned me down. And I said a very simple audit, something we could do simple, not a big grandiose thing like they did in Maricopa in 2020, which I have my comments about in my books. It could have been done much, much better and more efficient, and would have been done in a week or so, and would have got the right answer anyways. So we didn't get that with Orange County either, but we did end up doing, and we stepped in and we did some work, and we found out that 21% of the people that voted out of 1.4 million, 21% of the people aren't even, either they're not U.S. citizens or they're made up. 21. We did a statistical analysis study. We have the data. We did it, and that's the results. So this is the good news is that led to the DOJ stepping in to basically do now. They're suing the county on their election in 2024. So we're happy about that. They're getting a good answer. We're going to look into it.
Joe, we have to wrap up, but what you said in a short amount of time was jaw-dropping. This isn't a situation for just 2020. It's going on in 2024. And because of the great work that you did exposing corruption and fraud, we may have some accountability. Make sure, everybody, you're tuning in. You get the Gateway Pundit. buy Joe Hoft's book, and please get tickets to come out to Las Vegas, August 8th and 9th. We want you to come. We want that fellowship. We want to keep moving this country forward. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wow. Maybe I should have opened up with Joe Hoft. That was just incredible. I absolutely need to have him back. We need to I don't even know if it's great. Again, we just have to make America great. We are the beacon of hope for the rest of the world. And the main thing you need in a free, democratic, constitutional republic is safe and fraud-proof, as much as we can, elections. This is paramount for all of us, regardless of who you vote for. Well, thank you for joining the Dr. Maria Show, and have a wonderful weekend. I will see you again on Monday.